Hi there, my name is Jordan Varney. I'm a senior at CI and I'm studying political science.
And hi, my name is Nicole Bernal. I'm fourth year at CI, and I'm also studying political science and global studies.
So, the topic that we're going to be presenting is appropriating without earmarks and institutional reform and the law of unintended consequences. Okay,
So our topic is on the research. Our topic research is on the U.S. congressional appropriations process and how this longstanding institution has transformed following the 2011 earmark moratorium. And so just so before we delve deeper into this, want to briefly explain that the United States Congress is divided into the Senate and the House. Earmarks, which we will be talking about a lot in this presentation, are basically inserted into appropriations bills by politicians that allow them to set aside funds for whatever project they deem necessary and worth spending on. And the earmark moratorium, which we will also be discussing a lot about, is basically an event that happened in 2011 where it prohibited the use of earmarks in the congressional appropriations process. And so, following the earmark moratorium, we feel that there has been a change in how well Congress has been able to create and pass appropriations bills. And what we've seen is that there may have been some unintended consequences of the earmark moratorium. And what we're trying to do with our research is look at what those unintended consequences are and what they possibly mean for Congress as a longstanding institution within American politics. And so a lot of this is important because the earmark moratorium and its effects on Congress's ability to make appropriations bills and pass them is more than just a budget. We're seeing the effects on Congress and American politics as a whole. The ability to pass appropriations bills and maintain regular order, which is a very vital part of the appropriations process, is being affected, and we are instead seeing the potential rise in things such as limitation riders, which often slow down the appropriations process tremendously and sometimes even stop it altogether. And what we're seeing is that Congress is trying to combat limitation riders by using omnibus bills, which are basically multiple bills rolled into one. And the implications of that is that we're seeing um, members potentially not engaging in the appropriations process because they no longer feel that they have um, their views being represented within those bills. And so all of this combination together, we're seeing that appropriations bills cannot be passed. And when we don't have a budget, that leads to unintended consequences such as like government shutdowns, which I'm sure many Americans are well aware of and are familiar with, and know that they are harmful for American society as a whole.
okay. So regarding the methodology, um, me and Nicole worked together to appropriate or to code appropriation bills between the years of 1998 to 2019. And we also coded all of the limitation riders associated within the text of each subcommittee bill. And the last step we took in order to acquire our data is coding the omnibus bills over this time period to investigate how many subcommittee bills were included. Um, my notes, okay. So for those years, 1998 to 2019, this is important because this would be 13 years before the moratorium was instated and 8 years after the moratorium for all of the appropriation bills in the House and Senate. So that left us with a total of 504 total bills that were coded. We also found that limitation riders slow down the process of achieving regular order by inserting hot button issues, especially abortion, into budgeting exercises. Um, with this data, we were successfully able to examine the impacts of the 2011 moratorium on the quote unquote regular order process. We examined three main dependent variables, which are listed here on the screen, and they are whether a bill adhered to regular order, number of limitation riders in each bill, and lastly, how many subcommittee bills are rolled into the omnibus bills. So the main purpose of this research was, once again, to examine the consequences of the 2011 earmark moratorium, as well as investigating the consequences of limitation riders. Specifically, in the context of how this moratorium has affected both the House and Senate's ability to reach regular order. We found within our data that limitation riders slow down the process of achieving regular order once again by inserting hot button issues like abortion into the budgeting exercises. And we see here on the left side in figure 1 that there are two graphs that illustrate how regular order has been affected by the earmark moratorium for both the House and the Senate, respectively. We found that the House graph illustrates that regular order hasn't really been much affected by the 2011 moratorium. The Senate, on the other hand, has been significantly affected. And in conclusion, we agree with various political scientists that reintroducing earmarks would be a highly effective tool in restoring power back to Congress and eliminating the power grabs that are associated often with Washington, D.C. Thank you, everyone, for listening.